The problem of complexity is an old one. Philosophy has concerned itself with all the big problems of life and the universe forever. But when it comes to try and understand them and describe them and model them, what is a human being, how should a system of justice work, what is the law, what is beauty, these are all complex issues. And the approach tended to have been something that would try to reduce these wonderful characteristics to some sort of essence. And what we've realized is that these things are so complex, and that this complexity is the result of a set of relationships, that there is really no essence, that you have to deal with it in a systematic way. And this inaugurated, I think, kind of a new approach to the world. How do we think about it and how do we tackle it? Instead of reducing it to little subcomponents, to try and find out how these things are constituted in relationships with each other.
So it's interesting, of course, that the center consists of a philosopher and a biochemist and a social scientist working together, and one wonders how it is possible that these diverse fields could actually have common interest. But as Paul says, what we are interested in is systems where you have a number of components that are related to each other in such a way that the behavior of the system is complex.
I think the center is a good example of what academics should do. They should engage with ideas and work them out and try and make some sort of intellectual progress in such a way that that the results can be used in the world by those who sit with their...
So an important thing is, I think, that one, even though we are unashamedly theoretical and abstract in the way we approach complex systems, our deepening understanding of complex systems have real implications for how we, not only we, but everybody, act in the world. And we know that this is extremely important if one looks at all the big problems of our current time, which are summarized in the Millennium Goals.
I think one can actually say that the Center for Complexity is a kind of application already for this kind of thinking or complex thinking, because as Paul and Janne said, the notion of complexity can be a very theoretical way of looking at the world and doing science. But the Center for the Studies of the center that we are engaged with, Center of Studies for Studying Complexity, brings together a number of scientists and students, postgraduate students from all fields of study, and it sort of gives them the opportunity to think about complex systems in their own field of study, and it gives the opportunity to apply also these theoretical knowledge that is gathered in the text and in the literature in a very practical way, and the students have the opportunity to think and discuss and encourage one another in terms of language of complexity in their own fields of study.
I think a nice example is one of our weekly activities is to have a colloquium where we read and discuss a paper relevant to our fields. But we started off as just our group together with our students, but we now have people from all over joining us for this, people from music and from medicine, and we have an astronomer and a geneticist, people who realize the importance of this broader way of looking at things, who have joined our group. So it's truly a multidisciplinary effort. So one of the hallmarks of Studies in Complexity, of course, is that one immediately has contact with a number of other organizations and groupings. So within the university, there are, of course, our centers of excellence and initiatives such as the Tsama initiative, where one of the flagship projects is the transdisciplinary PhD, which has been established. Of course, we also have associated with the university the so-called the so-called Sustainability Institute, with which we have very close ties. And in both of these initiatives, we contribute courses in complexity and acting as supervisors. But of course, it's not only in our university. We see ourselves as a national facility. We are involved with institutions such as the NRF and the DST, also other universities, and of course internationally we have many collaborations, especially for instance in the Netherlands, and we are actively building out an East-West collaboration with especially South America, for instance. So it is really the hub of a whole network of interactions around this concept of complex systems.